Hi everybody, this is Mr. Corzine. I know you love these videos, and I know I'm super exciting as I present the notes. Just try and make the most of it here, and I'll be back tomorrow in class, and we'll review together, okay? The first thing I want to do before we get into our 6-3 notes is I want to go back over your homework from the last couple of days. So if I skip up here to this slide at the top, we've got our first assignment from 6-1 starting on page 359. I figure you'll take some time with your homework, and I'll scroll down here, you can pause and check out the homework, see how you did. I want you to make corrections to your homework, and I want you to note any questions that you have about why something isn't correct or how you need to do something differently. And when I'm back in class tomorrow, you can show me that, or we can talk about it, okay? So I'll go on to the next slide. Like I said, you can pause this and hold it and check your work. We go on to the next slide, 18, all the way down through number 50. Okay, so that was 6-1 homework. For 6-2, we start on page 366, and again, you've got your inequalities here, but also your number lines. Please make sure that your number lines are, decent, and they're clear. So I'll go on to the next slide. Again, you've got number lines, you've got inequalities, you've written an inequality, you've solved for the variable, and then you graph it on the number line. And here's the last few problems. I'm not super concerned with you giving me the total number of points. I just want to know any questions that you have or any help that you want me to give when I come back tomorrow, because we're going to be quizzing over these first 3 sections real soon. So now let's move on to 6-3. It's going to be multi-step inequalities, and this is just like multi-step equations. There could be variables on both sides. There could be the distributive property. There could be a combination of multiple things, like you have to combine like terms. So we'll just practice some of this stuff together, and then you'll be able to do the homework for tonight. Scroll on down here. Keeping in mind, we don't want you to forget to reverse or flip the sign whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number. I think maybe that could have come up in your homework answers. If you're still having trouble with that, again, we can go over that tomorrow when I come back. But try and try to make some sense of it, or work together, please, to make sure you're not missing that part every time. Okay, so here we go. Here we've got some examples. 7x plus 2 is less than 5. I want to get x by itself. So just like normal, I would subtract 2 on both sides. And I get a negative 7x is equal to a negative 7. Well, now I'm going to divide by a negative 7 on both sides. Oops, I forgot. First of all, this should be a less than symbol. I divide by negative 7 on both sides to cancel that out. But since I have divided by negative 7, my sign's going to switch, and x is going to be greater than 1. So that's what I've got. Now you can then go to your number line or create a number line. I've got 1, I've got 2, I've got 0. I'm going to switch my colors. I'm going to keep an open circle. It's going to be greater than, and it's going to go this way. On to part B, or question B. For this one, I've got the distributive property, and I could cancel this out first and multiply times 3 on both sides. That would be fine. Or I can go ahead and multiply each of these by 1/3, because it actually makes it simple. X plus 2 is greater than or equal to a negative 1. So now I subtract 2 on both sides, and I get x is greater than or equal to a negative 3. Now I go down here, I make my number line. I got a negative 3, I got a negative 2, and I've got a negative 4. I'll circle the negative 3 and fill it in, and I'm going to go greater than. So I still have to go to the right like that. All right, moving down to my next couple of problems, I'm going to extend this a little bit. All right, now I see I've got variables on both sides of this inequality. I just need to cancel one of those out by subtracting one of those variable terms on both sides. That cancels out. Now I get 2x minus 4 is less than or equal to 8. Well, from here, I'm going to add 4 on both sides. So I get 2x is less than or equal to 12. And then finally, I divide by 2, and I get x is less than or equal to 6. If I make my number line, I've got a 6, I've got a 7, and I've got a 5. I'm going to circle and fill in on my 6, and I got to go less than, so I'm going to go that way. All right, one more on this slide, where I've got variables on both sides. I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides like this. So now I've got 3x. 6 is greater than 21. Then I'll subtract 6 on both sides, like so. And I'll have 3x is greater than, what is that, 15? And then I divide by 3 on both sides. And x is greater than 5. Okay. If I make my number line, I've got a 5, I've got a 6, I've got a 4. See, I've got my 3 numbers. I circle my 5, and it's got to be greater than that, so I'm going to go this way. So I should change the colors there, like so. Hopefully that's not too difficult or crazy. I think you remember, solving equations with variables on both sides, all types of multi-step equations. So now we're just applying what we've learned about inequalities. Next one. We want to solve and graph this one as well, if it's possible. So here we go. I'm going to try and get the variables by themselves. Let's see. Let's distribute here. I'm going to get 18x minus 6. And then over here, I've got 18x minus 4. 18x minus 4 is greater than 18x minus 6. Now, remember the last time we dealt with equations like this, there were some special circumstances where there were no solutions, or there were infinite solutions. Let's look and see how this turns out. I'm going to subtract 18x on both sides. And it's going to become pretty clear, pretty quick, that this now says negative 4 is greater than negative 6. Okay, is this true? Yes, it's true. So, what did we learn about this? There must be infinite solutions. There must be infinite solutions. So, but I have to read the inequality as such. So, originally, if this would have said negative 4 is equal to negative 6, that's just not true. If this was an equation, this would be no solutions. However, negative 4 is actually greater than negative 6, so there are infinite solutions here. Okay, so you got to take a look at it and evaluate and see if it is actually true. All right, let's go down to the bottom one here and try this again. Oops, let's try that. All right, I'm going to distribute and rewrite this so it'll say 4x plus 12 is less than or equal to 4x minus 6. Well, I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. And now I've got 12 is less than or equal to negative 6. Is that true? Is 12 really less than or equal to negative 6? No, that's false. So what does that mean? There's no solutions that will ever work. There's no number that could fit in for x that will ever work. So I have to label it as an impossible type of inequality. Okay? I'm hoping that this is pretty clear. I know there are examples in your book, and there's more things for you to follow along with if you really needed some help. But these are your go-to examples. All right, so now we want to translate a verbal phrase into an inequality. This is pretty simple. You just got to pay attention to the words they're using here. 3 times the difference of x and 2 is less than or equal to 9. Okay, so I see this less than or equal to 9. Get that out of the way. 3 times the difference of x and 2, that means x is going to, x and 2 are going to be subtracted, and I got to multiply that times 3. So when they talk about 3 times the difference, you have to put that difference in parentheses before you multiply. Okay. After that, I think they want you to solve it. So it says translate a verbal phrase into an inequality and graph. So you got to graph it. In order to graph it, you got to solve it. So this is going to be 3x minus 6 less than or equal to 9. Well, then I add 6 on both sides. So now 3x is less than or equal to 15. Well, then divide by 3. And x is less than or equal to 5. Well, on my number line, I got a 5, I got a 6, and I've got a 4. I change my colors. I circle here. I'm going to fill it in because it's also equal to, and it's got to go that way. Okay? Cool? Cool. Next slide. We're almost done. You can work at most 24 hours a week as a nurse's aide. So far this week, you've worked 7 hours. If the remaining shifts are 4 hours long, how many possible full shifts can you work? Right, and solve using an inequality. All right, so here's the thing. You have to work, you want to work 24 hours. No more than that, though. So you can work something that is less than or equal to 24 hours. So whatever you got going on over here has to be less than or equal to 24 hours. Well, you've worked 7 hours, plus you're going to work a shift. Actually, we don't know how many shifts you're going to work. It could be like 2 shifts, could be 8 shifts, could be however, but the number of shifts that you work are going to get multiplied times 4 because they're 4 hours long each. So if I do 7 plus 4 times the number of shifts, it's got to end up being less than or equal to 24. All right, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are already there. If not, just follow along. I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. So really, 4 times s has to be less than or equal to 17. Well, then I got to divide by 4 on both sides. And s ends up giving me 4 1/4 shifts. Well, they want to know how many full shifts can you work. You can only work 4 more full shifts. I can't work partial shifts, at least not in this situation. So 4 full shifts, and that's it. Okay, I hope that this is making sense to you guys. Take some time to look through your examples in your book. Don't forget that that's an option. And then, so the last slide, it's got your homework on there. You're going to go to page 372, and you're going to do all of these problems. Work it out, follow the instructions. When I come back to school on Wednesday, when I'm there on Wednesday to go through all these problems with you, please be ready to ask me any questions. We will have a quiz soon. So we'll review, and we should quiz on Thursday, unless you guys want to talk me into doing that sooner. But there you go. Have fun. Get your homework done, and be nice to the sub. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.